Hi everyone, here's some of us heading your way tonight to your news at 9.
A homicide investigation is underway after police find a body in rural Vernon County. I'm Zach Dodge with what we know so far.
1. Hospitals near capacity in hotspot areas as several states see record numbers of new COVID-19 infections. I'm Casey Stiegel. We've got the latest coming up from Dallas.
Doug Heddy is weather tonight. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Jordan Abbey. Police are looking for a subject in connection to a Vernon County, Missouri homicide. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details.
Residents in Deerfield say it really is a quiet community where everyone watches out for each other. That's why they were surprised to see on Wednesday morning police and even SWAT gathered around this house on Quail Road. On Wednesday morning, Vernon County deputies found a 63-year-old woman dead in rural Vernon County near Deerfield. The Missouri Highway Patrol was called in and a mobile command unit was set up while the scene was investigated. Also on Wednesday morning, evidence connected to the case was found in another state. A black trash bag was found in the back of a pickup truck at a Hot Springs, Arkansas Walmart. The Hot Springs Police Department says it was put in the truck on Tuesday night by an unknown person and was later determined to be connected to the homicide. The body found in Vernon County is being sent to Ozark, Missouri for an autopsy as the investigation continues. In Vernon County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Hot Springs PD and the Missouri State Highway Patrol are looking for a suspect in connection to the homicide. That man right there, 38-year-old Aaron Goodman, is wanted for felony abandonment of a corpse and is considered armed and dangerous. A man is taken to a treatment facility after Caney, Kansas police say he suffered a, quote, mental episode inside City Hall. Also the police department. Officials say the incident happened Tuesday, and the man attempted to break into both the police and city clerk's doors. According to police, the man then started removing items from the lobby and threw them towards the front lawn. Officers contacted the person's friends who agreed to take him to a treatment facility in Oklahoma. Kansas Bureau of Investigation finishes its investigation into an officer-involved shooting that happened Friday. The KBI says 32-year-old Wesley Jordan died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. After more than a year, construction on the bridge over Spring River in Riverton, Kansas has finished and the bridge is open. Construction started back on July 9th of 2019 with crews patching the bridge on K66 eastbound. The 130-day contract surpassed its initial deadline because of inclement weather over the winter months. KDOT says this project also took more work than anticipated. Well, you may have noticed flags at half-staff around Kansas, the state of Kansas. This was directed by Governor Laura Kelly to honor the more than 1,000 Kansans who've lost their lives because of COVID-19. Jasper County, Missouri Health Department is reporting its 54th COVID-19 related death. Officials say this time the person was a man in his 70s. Another wave of the coronavirus has some officials reverting back to tactics used in the spring to curb the spread, try to anyway. The restrictions come as several states see an uptick in hospitalizations and deaths. Fox News correspondent Casey Stiegel has more.
The U.S. is just entering the colder months, and already the dreaded fall and winter surge has begun. At least 24 states reported a record high number of daily cases in October, including Wisconsin, where hospitals are on track to run out of ICU beds in the next few weeks. Nationwide, more than 44,000 people have been hospitalized, and public health officials fear we could see a shortage of PPE and personnel.
Now we've seen this happening across the nation, so access to those traveling staff just isn't there anymore.
Wisconsin's governor is urging people to stay at home to help curb the spread, while officials in Newark, New Jersey imposed a nightly curfew on non-essential businesses.
What works is distancing and not attending large gatherings and wearing masks. They need public health compliance.
Meantime, Moderna announced Thursday it's actively preparing for the global launch of a potential vaccine. The company says it's taken in more than $1 billion from governments for distribution. Researchers expect phase 3 trial data by late November. But with a vaccine not expected for widespread use before the holidays, officials now urging people to avoid traveling for family gatherings.
If you go someplace else, the chance of bringing it back with you is high.
Moderna is one of 5 companies here in the United States with late-stage vaccine trials currently underway. That's the latest from Dallas. Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
Some COVID-19 patients are experiencing skin problems months after they've had the coronavirus. A new study from Massachusetts General Hospital looked at nearly 1,000 patients with skin symptoms. Researchers say these findings highlight another issue for so-called COVID long haulers. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our 4 state heroes. Christopher Haynes has served in the U.S. Army ever since 2001. Native of Mountville, Missouri, Haynes has been stationed in Iraq, and we are very proud to thank Specialist Christopher Haynes. He is tonight's 4 state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And a bit later in sports, we're going to hear from Pitt State's new head coach as he prepares for his first game with the Gorillas.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nicer afternoon and evening after more rain once again last night and really through the morning hours. Most of the rain got out of here by about the noon hour, but definitely a wet start and temperatures chilly again for us today, but we are going to start to warm things back up. Great time lapse Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. You can see that wet start, the clouds, and then the sun, which we haven't seen the sun since Saturday, so it's been quite a while. Also rainfall, we picked up over a ½ an inch since midnight for the month, 4.5 for the year, 41.5. Look where we were last year at this time, 58.25 inches of rain, which was the second wettest year of all time. 41 right now. Northerly winds are light. Humidity is kind of high. It's going to be cold tonight. We're going to drop back near freezing, so we are going to get frosty conditions. Most of us now around the metro are sitting right around 40 degrees from Neosho up to Oronogo, Pittsburgh, all the way down to Miami, and most of us are upper 30s to near 40 degrees. But again, we are going to get a freeze. I think most of us will drop back to about 31 or 32 degrees later on tonight, as you can see this cooler air which continues to filter in the entire Central Plains, but at least we're going to start to go the other direction as we work into the next couple days. Also, the winds are starting to lighten up just a bit. North wind, it's light at about 5 miles per hour. Look at all the rain we had during the morning hours, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, finally starts to rotate out. The clouds work out of here right behind it, so now we have clear skies. This system is racing off toward the east. And if we look out toward the west, there's just not much going on. That's our weather as we go through the next couple days. So it's going to be pretty good over the next few days. For us tonight, cold, most of us 30 to about 32. So it's going to get down there. We're going to start the day on the cold side, 32 to start. We'll have clear skies throughout the day. Looks pretty good. It's going to be a nice Friday, 55 by noon, plenty of sunshine up top. The winds are going to be light, southwesterly winds at about 5 to 10, 61 during the afternoon. It gets even better by the time we head into Halloween. Let's go into Friday evening. High school football. It's going to be chilly, but we're going to be dry. We're going to drop back into the 50s. South winds pick up. Let's go into Saturday. We'll start the day into the mid 40s, but we're going to warm into lower 60s during the afternoon. You can see this wind shift line just to our west. So this is Halloween. A front's going to work in Saturday night. We may get a few clouds with it, but I think we're going to stay dry, which is great. And then by the time we head into Sunday, a little bit cooler, but most of the weekend looks great. 61 tomorrow, 63 on Halloween. For the evening hours, we're going to slide back through the 50s. At least we're going to be dry, so any trick-or-treating does look pretty good. And then a nice stretch of fall weather really for the next week or so. And look at Election Tuesday, high temp is 69. Jordan?
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, Jasper County election officials say they are seeing a record turnout from early voters. Early in-person voting is underway right now across Oklahoma. Polls today opened at county election board offices in all 77 counties. In some counties, voters were lined up an hour before the polls even opened. Besides voting for president, Oklahoma voters are casting ballots for a U.S. Senate race, 5 U.S. House seats, and 2 state questions. Oklahoma in-person voting continues Friday, also Saturday. Many people are voting early this year, so much so it's breaking local records right here in the 4 states. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
Melody Colbert-Keene is no stranger to politics, having served on the Joplin Council. So for her, exercising her right to vote is important. This year, she decided to vote early.
Well, I wanted to get in because I had a fear that it's going to be a lot of lines come Tuesday. And plus, I'm going to be busy taking people around to the polls. So I'm not even going to be available that day.
And with COVID concerns, she encourages others to vote early.
If you don't want the large crowds and you don't want to be standing in line close to people and that kind of thing, then go ahead and do it now. And they have the reasons on there for you to choose. And you can pick one of those and fill out your ballot, get it done.
Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis says just the early voter turnout is breaking records.
In 2016, we had 4,187 absentee ballots cast, that is in-person and mail-in. So far this year, the in-person and the mail-in, we have 8,018, so we will have way more than double the number of absentee votes.
Davis says in the 2016 election, turnout was about 53%. He's expecting this year's turnout to be 65%. Now, Davis says in terms of determining how the county will vote, there's some historical reference.
Historically, the last time Jasper County elected a Democratic president, it was Lyndon Baines Johnson. Back over a generation ago. That was the generation where I was born. So if you look at tradition, it pretty traditionally picks a Republican president, but you never know. Things are a little bit odd this year.
I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Kansas Secretary of State is expecting voter turnout to be around 70% compared to 67% back in the 2016 general election. We've got links on deadlines for absentee ballots on our website. See you right there, KOAMnewsnow.com. Just ahead of that presidential election.
Some good news on the U.S. economy as both presidential candidates are headed to the Sunshine State. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. How their final arguments couldn't be more different.
The race to finish in Florida, the Sunshine State getting stormed by both the Trump and Biden campaigns leading up to Tuesday. Fox's Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more.
The vote for President Trump is a vote for a better America.
The first couple campaigning together in Tampa, Florida.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here in our home state, Florida.
A must-win state for the Republican ticket with its 29 electoral votes. The president was bolstered by good economic news on Thursday of a growing economy that's faced record hardship during the pandemic.
We locked down, we understood the disease, and now we're open for business.
The president's rally came just hours before Joe Biden's dueling rally in Tampa.
5 days left, folks.
But first he spoke in Broward County.
I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm not going to shut down the country, but I'm going to shut down the virus.
Both campaigns have been racing to snap up any undecided Floridians and motivate their supporters to turn out to the polls on or before Election Day. The latest NBC News Marist poll shows a tight race between the tickets. 51% of likely voters for Biden, while 47% for Trump.
If Florida goes blue, it's over. It's over.
You have to get out and vote. We are creating the greatest red wave in the history of our country.
As of Thursday afternoon, the data shows more than 7 million have voted in Florida, and across the country, that number, 79 million early ballots cast. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
If you've mastered the art of pumpkin carving, look at this. Might want to consider doing this. A visit to Seattle when we come back. Scientists have discovered a new reef measuring about 1,600 feet in the Great Barrier Reef, making it taller than some of the world's tallest buildings, including the Empire State Building. Isn't that amazing? Scientists found the detached reef while on an expedition aboard a research vessel, according to Schmidt Ocean Institute. The team live streamed footage, as we're seeing right now, of the exploration using an underwater robot named Sebastian. Get it? This is the first attached reef to be discovered in more than 120 years. Amazing again. Who says Halloween can only be celebrated on dry land? The Seattle Aquarium is putting up its own deep sea spin on the spooky holiday. Throughout this week, scuba divers are going to be hard at work carving pumpkins underwater. The Halloween festivities take place right next to the fish, as we just saw, as guests watch from behind the glass. After each carving session, the divers' handiwork is kept on display in the exhibit, giving the ocean critters a chance to experience some trick-or-treat magic, too. Don't worry if you can't make it to the aquarium to see the spectacle for yourself if you can't travel to Seattle. All of the underwater jack-o'-lanterns are going to be showcased during the aquarium's Facebook Live event this Friday. This Friday. If you are in the mood for some spooky children's toys, the Joplin History and Mineral Museum has you covered. Goodness gracious, they have gathered a collection of creepy dolls, and they want your help to determine the creepiest among all of them. On the museum's Facebook page, they are posting pictures of the dolls. Goodness. Along with what makes them so disturbing. They are asking you to tell them which doll gives you the heebie-jeebies the most.
I think it's just the fact that they're just always staring at you. You notice human faces out of anything, and there are always these little tiny faces that are just looking at you on the side of your vision. And I think that's something that just kind of makes you think that there's someone watching you.
The museum is also asking people to share photos of their own creepy dolls, along with stories of their supernatural activity. Is that creepy? I don't know, because Allie, who's running audio for this show right now, says those dolls look pretty good. Whatever floats your boat, right? 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
I'm standing inside of Fort Scott's Mako Ace Hardware store, a store with almost 50 years of history in the city. And it's about to get a makeover worth more than $300,000. You'll learn how coming up.
Plus, results from a survey done about the future of Joplin's Memorial Hall. Going to learn about this year's Empty Bowls fundraiser in Joplin, a fundraiser to help care for individuals, also families in need.
Police in France respond to a deadly terror attack for the third time in 2 months. I'm Benjamin Hall in London with all the details coming up.
A hardware store that's been serving Fort Scott, Kansas for almost 50 years will soon be getting roughly $300 worth of makeovers. Thanks to some help from the state of Kansas. KAOM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the owner of Mako Ace Hardware to learn more.
Ace Hardware, this is Chris.
Ever since it opened almost 5 decades ago, Mako Ace Hardware in Fort Scott, Kansas has been a family business.
All the hard work that my father put into this business, my grandfather put into this business. And so it's been a great venture for me to be here and to be able to do this with my 2 boys.
Store owner Chris Maycumber will eventually pass the store on to his sons, but for now he's focusing on making sure they and the Fort Scott community have the best hardware store a growing city could ask for.
We've got more people every day moving downtown and every day moving to Fort Scott, and so this, as a hardware store for convenience for residents as well as businesses, is just unparalleled.
Maycumber's customers will soon be treated to an upgraded store with a new facelift. The store is receiving a community development block grant worth almost $225,000, and Maycumber will be contributing roughly $75,000 in matching funds. That money will go towards roof and ceiling repair and replacement, window and door replacement, and making the store ADA accessible as well as more energy efficient.
And hopefully allow us to be here for generations to come.
In Fort Scott, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
The owner of Mako Ace Hardware hopes all of his store improvements are going to be completed by early summer of next year. City of Fort Scott, Kansas, during a meeting today, talked about the search for a new city manager. The current city manager, Dave Martin, announced his retirement last week. His last day will be tomorrow. The commission says they're in talks with the company to search for qualified candidates for a job, but want to make sure the price is right.
And we'd like some time to digest it because it's a flat rate of $7,900 is what we believe to start off with them to research and bring us candidates. And, you know, with decreasing population and things of that nature, we would like to make sure that every penny we have is spent wisely.
At the meeting, the city also voted to switch their insurance provider to a local agency. Kansas 3rd District State Representative Monica Murnan gave Pittsburgh City Commissioners an update on SPARK program funding for Crawford County. So far, the county has received $7.8 million through round 1 of the program. Round 2 will focus on economic development and connectivity. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas was in Pittsburgh today, where he talked with the Kiwanis Club. Senator says he hopes there's more cooperation and working together on Capitol Hill.
My belief is that once the election is behind us, there'll be more level of cooperation in Washington, D.C., and I would expect an additional phase. My view is it's got to be much less expensive and more targeted than what we've done in the past.
Now, when asked about the possibility of the Toronto Raptors NBA team playing in Kansas City next season because of the pandemic travel restrictions, Senator Moran said, "That's a great idea." City of Joplin releases new drawings of the proposal for Joplin's Memorial Hall at a meeting this week. Back on Tuesday, officials held another public meeting to discuss the latest survey results for the future of Memorial Hall. That right there, the survey focused on preliminary drawings of potential design changes to the building. These new drawings were also released. They provide a more detailed look at what the future of the building could be.
Basically, that was really the main focus, was to present to the people, this is what you told us in the first and second survey. So this is kind of what we are proposing and envisioned, what Memorial Hall could be.
Bloomberg says there's a third survey out right now for residents on the city's website. A reminder from Watered Gardens in Joplin. Tomorrow is the last day for empty bowls pre-sales. Officials say they have about 100 bowls left, made from 7 different artists in Southwest Missouri. Empty Bowls is a fundraiser Watered Garden uses to help care for and feed those in need in the community. When someone buys a bowl, they will get a serving of soup and get to keep that bowl as a reminder that they are helping someone in need.
I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in our community for Empty Bowls. People look forward to it every year. November 19th is always an exciting day. A lot of foot traffic at the Empire Market for it. We'll be interested to see how that goes this year.
The Empty Bowls event, where people will get their bowls and soup, will be November 19th. If Watered Garden still has bowls after the pre-sale, they will sell them at that event. This year's annual Bean Feed in Neosho, Missouri included visits by Governor Mike Parsons, State Senator Bill White, and U.S. Representative Billy Long. The event took place at the Neosho High School and included a silent auction.
People are energized. People are definitely involved in this election, and they're going to come out. And I believe you're going to see some huge numbers in the conservatives that are going to come out in this state. And I think the crowd there tonight understands how important Christian values are, moral values, and the love of this state and the love of this country.
Now, the free food itself, some pretty good stuff. It was ham and beans, cornbread, dessert, and some iced tea. Another deadly terror attack in France, prompting the country's highest alert level, with thousands of troops deployed as the threat escalates and the investigation ramps up. Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall has more from London.
France is under attack. Those were the words of French President Emmanuel Macron following the third attack in 2 months blamed on Islamic extremists. It happened in the city of Nice, a man armed with a knife killing 3 people in a church before being shot and apprehended by police. Officials say the investigation is ramping up, but they're clear it was a terror attack.
There are no doubts about the motivations and the determination of the perpetrator, who was repeating Allahu Akbar while he was being treated.
Police haven't commented on a possible motive behind the attack, but it comes during a growing backlash against cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, published by the French magazine Charlie Hebdo. There were other incidents on Thursday, including a knife attack at a French consulate in Saudi Arabia and protests in several cities.
To the French president, the racist, the anti-Islam, the hostile to the Prophet of Islam, and the hostile to the nations of Islam, we tell him, enough hatred.
France is now on its highest alert level, and President Macron says the number of troops deployed to protect schools and churches will be raised from 3,000 to 7,000, providing relief to police and security forces who say they need help to tackle the long-term threat.
The threat is permanent, and this is the third attack that we have suffered. It is too much.
The attack comes just 1 day after ISIS released a video calling for attacks against France to continue. In London, Benjamin Hall, Fox News.
A bit later, signs pointing to a rebounding economy.
A new economic report reveals GDP rose at a record rate. I'm Mike Emanuel in Washington with what the White House has to say about the latest outlook on the economy.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nicer afternoon and evening after more rain once again last night and really through the morning hours. Most of the rain got out of here by about the noon hour, but definitely a wet start and temperatures chilly again for us today, but we are going to start to warm things back up. Great time lapse, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. You can see that wet start, the clouds, and then the sun, which we haven't seen the sun since Saturday, so it's been quite a while. Also rainfall, we picked up over a ½ an inch since midnight for the month, 4.5 for the year, 41.5. Look where we were last year at this time, 58.25 inches of rain, which was the second wettest year of all time. 41 right now. Northerly winds are light. Humidity is kind of high. It's going to be cold tonight. We're going to drop back near freezing, so we are going to get frosty conditions. Most of us now around the metro are sitting right around 40 degrees from Neosho up to Oronogo, Pittsburgh, all the way down to Miami, and most of us are upper 30s to near 40 degrees. But again, we are going to get a freeze. I think most of us will drop back to about 31 or 32 degrees later on tonight, as you can see this cooler air which continues to filter in the entire Central Plains, but at least we're going to start to go the other direction as we work into the next couple days. Also, the winds are starting to lighten up just a bit. North wind, it's light at about 5 miles per hour. Look at all the rain we had during the morning hours, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, finally starts to rotate out. The clouds work out of here right behind it, so now we have clear skies. This system is racing off toward the east, and if we look out toward the west, there's just not much going on. That's our weather as we go through the next couple days. So it's going to be pretty good over the next few days. For us tonight, cold, most of us 30 to about 32. So it's going to get down there. We're going to start the day on the cold side, 32 to start. We'll have clear skies throughout the day. Looks pretty good. It's going to be a nice Friday, 55 by noon, plenty of sunshine up top. The winds are going to be light, southwesterly winds at about 5 to 10, 61 during the afternoon. It gets even better by the time we head into Halloween. Let's go into Friday evening. High school football. It's going to be chilly, but we're going to be dry. We're going to drop back into the 50s. South winds pick up. Let's go into Saturday. We'll start the day into the mid-40s, but we're going to warm into lower 60s during the afternoon. You can see this wind shift line just to our west. So this is Halloween. A front's going to work in Saturday night. We may get a few clouds with it, but I think we're going to stay dry, which is great. And then by the time we head into Sunday, a little bit cooler, but most of the weekend looks great. 61 tomorrow, 63 on Halloween. For the evening hours, we're going to slide back through the 50s. At least we're going to be dry, so any trick-or-treating does look pretty good. And then a nice stretch of fall weather really for the next week or so. And look at Election Tuesday, high temp is 69. Jordan?
Doug, thanks again, man. Coming up in sports this opening week for Kansas high school football playoffs. Going to have highlights from Oswego's game against Burden Central. Plus, how Pitt State is getting ready for their first game of the season this weekend.
Well, this week is the opening week of playoffs for Kansas high school football. Now, a few local schools are getting started early tonight, including the Oswego Indians. Oswego 7-1 heading into the playoffs. They have the Burden Central Raiders in round one. Indians went to work fast. First possession, sophomore Jake Hutchinson. Tough 5-yard run. Oswego up 6-0. A first Central possession, 4th and 1. Check out Jesse Bloomer getting in the backfield and blowing it up. That's a turnover on downs. And then very next play, Oswego takes a shot. Lance Teal. Perfect ball deep down the middle for Isaac Elkins. Pushes the Indians' lead to 14, but they're not done. Sticking around in the first, quick pitch goes to Jace Landis. Landis around the far side, 36 yards for the score. It's now 22-0. Oswego gets one more in the first. This time it's Teal making the right call to pull it. He's in for 6. Oswego runs away from Central. Indians moving on 54-8. Well, it's game week for Pittsburgh State football. On Saturday, the Gorillas will hit the field against Nebraska Kearney in their first game under head coach Brian Wright. Pitt State head coach Brian Wright is about to get his first taste of Gorilla Game Day.
Throughout all that we've been through, just to have this opportunity to lead our football team out there onto the field, doing what we all love to do is pretty exciting.
It's been a long time coming, and we finally get to show y'all all the hard work we've been doing.
The Gorillas will host Nebraska Kearney on Saturday in front of a limited crowd.
Even though it's not the full game day atmosphere and we're not going to have as much fans at the stadium, our mindset's still it's game day, and we're going to show them what the Gorillas are about.
Saturday's game is one of 5 on the schedule for Pitt State this fall. While the goal is to win, the Gorillas also want to find out what they have in some younger players.
We also have a good group of young people. We've got some depth at some of the positions that we'd like to see some other guys, and I think a lot of that's naturally going to happen just because at certain positions we just have young guys that we need to see anyway, and they're going to have to spell some of those starters. So I think a lot of that's just naturally going to happen.
At quarterback, Wright will not name a starter, but does say we'll see Max Sexton, Matt Harmon, and Chad Dodson each on the field on Saturday.
We'll throw, the guy that's going to start out there early and give him those first couple, series, and then let the next QB in, and then we'll play it by ear from that point, see the flow of the game.
Saturday's game will begin shortly after noon. Well, the Neosho High School boys soccer program is on a historic run. The Wildcats have won 3 straight district titles, appeared in the Final Four, and this year the team was crowned COC champs for the first time ever. KOAM sports reporter Andy Cioteco catches up with the Wildcats as they aim to keep making history.
Senior Diego Vargas has experienced some historic moments. Neosho boys soccer captured the last 3 straight district titles and made their first Final Four appearance in program history 1 season ago.
It had to take a lot of work because we came from nothing, and it took us a lot.
The Wildcats finished last season 4th at the Class 3 state tournament, following losses to Platte County and Webster Groves. Vargas says that team started something, and this year they aim to finish it.
Those 2 big losses that we took last year was terrible, and now this year we want to come back and win and do what we deserve.
Neosho has continued its historic run. This year, the Wildcats finished the regular season 16-1 overall and undefeated in conference play, winning their first COC title.
We've had successful postseason runs the last few years, but a regular season like the one these guys have put together this year shows a measure of consistency that we haven't had before, which is great.
Oh, well, since we were little, we all grew up playing together, and it was our dream, to make history here. And we just kept that in our heads, kept our motivation, knew what we wanted, and then we just went for it.
The 13 seniors hope to capitalize on the experience they have gained as they make a run for a 4th consecutive district title and possibly pushing for their first state championship.
Now this is our last year, so it's our basically time to shine. So we have to take advantage. The Final Four, it was an example of what we could do, and this year it's going to show us we can do better.
In Neosho, Andy Cioteco, KOAM Sports.
Neosho will open up the Class 3 District 12 tournament this Saturday at home against Carl Junction. Game time for that one is 2 o'clock. We're back with more news after this.
Buyer beware when it comes to keeping control of your online accounts. According to a new Bankrate survey, 91% of adults have put their personal data at risk this year. How? Well, 80% have reused their online passwords, and nearly half of people polled have passwords saved on their phone or computer, while more than a third store payment info on their devices. New economic numbers from the U.S. Commerce Department show the economy grew at a record pace during the 3rd quarter. The Trump administration is taking a victory lap, but some say not so fast, as there are still concerns over an uptick in coronavirus cases, and there's still no deal in place for additional COVID-19 relief. Fox News Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel reports now from Washington.
Just days before the election, the Trump administration is touting record-shattering economic numbers. After plummeting from the pandemic, from July through September, the economy rebounded at an annual rate of 33.1%.
As these businesses open, the policies here are still President Trump's low tax rates, his deregulation, independent energy, and good trade deals. That all begins to slowly kick back in.
Critics argue that despite the positive news, the economic comeback from the coronavirus shutdown is beginning to plateau. Millions of Americans are still unemployed, and cases are on the rise.
To view that we're in a good economy, we're not in a good economy. We're down. This is going to be the 12-month period that's the worst in 70 years.
For weeks, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin tried to come to an agreement on another relief package to help struggling Americans, but they had major differences on the size of the bill. Today, Pelosi signaled she is willing to restart negotiations.
People are hungry. People on the verge of eviction. People need money in their pockets. We have enormous challenges there. They don't believe in governance. They don't like the public role in helping people.
We wanted a deal get done for the last 6 weeks. It's just been very difficult negotiating with the other side.
But another relief package will probably have to wait. Most lawmakers have left Washington and won't return until after the presidential election. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
What's new to On Demand on DVD as well? Gonna find out when we come back. From a horror film in theaters to a supernatural comedy at home, we have a look at new movies this week. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Just wants a friend. The tech-inspired Come Play is in theaters.
If you're a fan of Poltergeist, if you're a fan of Stranger Things, but then your horror fandom also takes you to a film like Lights Out, then that combination is what you should expect from Come Play.
I put a spell on you. On demand, there's the scary movie Spell.
Their plane crashes, and then all of a sudden, the father finds himself taken hostage by this very strange group, a cult, a group of people who live in the backwoods, who sort of believe in spells and witchcraft.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. The Craft legacy picks up from the 1996 cult classic. The True Adventures of Wolf Boy is a coming-of-age drama.
He's trying to kind of figure out what's happening to him, and he's trying to exist in this world where a lot of kids are making fun of him, and at the same time, he's on a quest to find his mom, who may have some hidden answers.
No more make-believe.
This is a film that will teach you to sort of embrace your differences, no matter what they are.
There's also the streetball biopic Blackjack, the Jackie Ryan story. On streaming, Truth Seekers reunites Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
They use all kinds of homemade gizmos and gadgets in order to capture the supernatural. They share their adventures online. All of a sudden, their haunted stakeouts become more terrifying.
Hello, ghost! Pegg and Frost's 2004 Zomcom Shaun of the Dead could then be one idea for a fun Halloween-themed double feature. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with a video of Halloween decorations from around Carl Junction. Go Bulldogs. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.